Hello, and welcome to Smash Course, a crash course into all things Platfighters. Today, in our very first lesson, we will be focusing on what makes something a platform fighter. This is super important to understand because as we dive further into the history of the genre, it's crucial to know its definition, so that way in the future, we can clearly point to elements of its design that makes it so special. So in that case, what is a plat fighter? There are so many potential answers you can give to this question that it can be kind of frightening. And no matter what answer I provide to this seemingly simple question, there's surely going to be some sort of refute of, hey, you didn't include this said thing, or that this said thing shouldn't count. So going into this, let's keep an open mind that the gates to enter and leave this genre can be pretty darn loose. The two most crucial ingredients to being a platform fighter are actually in the title, the platforming and the fighting. When these two individual genres meet and kiss one another on the cheek, that's where the magic happens. But what kind of mechanics or rules creates this fusion? Well, here's a short list to narrow down most candidates. Stages. The biggest criteria to be a plat fighter isn't exactly the fighting, but rather the stages. The stages create the environment for players to engage with movement systems, positioning, and platforming. The idea that certain stages yield benefits to different characters is a crucial distinction to plat fighters over traditional fighters. Most traditional fighters have multiple stages, but yield little to no difference in layout and character advantage with such layout. One notable exemption would be games with free floor fighting, like Injustice or Tekken, where picking different stages can create unique gameplay scenarios such as using the scenery around you, or even knocking your opponent to different environments entirely. The reason that these are excluded is due to the fact these stages don't require movement to utilize unique terrain, and/or don't provide strategic benefits to certain characters. For example, in Injustice, every character can just press a button to use these unique stage actions, and have no to little benefit on a per character basis, as compared to say Smashy Bros, where its stage layouts can open to earlier kills or combo routes. Stages are the largest deterrent between a traditional fighter and a plat fighter, but what is a large deterrent between platformers and plat fighters? This feels like an obvious and unnecessary statement, but it's the second biggest criteria for a reason. The whole genre stems off from traditional fighting games, and therefore, all platform fighters can also be considered fighting games. Think of it as all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are considered squares. The reason PvP combat needs to exist is to separate itself from just normal old platformers, and in an ideal case, the combat mechanics help enrich the stages and environments to emphasize movement, spacing, and all the buzzwords from earlier. The game should involve fighting against another player, or a computer filling in the role of another player by attacking and damaging them directly. Otherwise, Joe and Mac would be a plat fighter, and the world as we know it would come to an unfortunate end. Now, this next criteria might be a bit controversial to some. I myself would have disagreed with it not too long ago, but while doing research for this video and making this criteria, I was faced with a difficult choice. A decision that required tremendous sacrifice and restraint, and ultimately, I'm the better for it. That rule being, it's 2D. To be a platform fighter, a game needs to be on a two-dimensional plane. This is because a game that meets the prior two criteria would just be an arena fighter instead when it's in a 3D space. And obviously no, I'm not saying the graphics can't be 3D, I mean the boundaries of player movement. So I don't want to hear any smart Alex in the comment section, okay? Anyway, this rule breaks my heart, because for years I've called Shrek Super Slam a platform fighter. But now, looking back, I realize that I have to swallow my pride and admit, no, it really isn't. While figuring out this video, as well as what to cover in the series as a whole, I wanted to include games like the aforementioned Super Slam and other games such as Power Stone. But I feel if I did, it would open the gates to a bunch of Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. So I passed. Now, if you personally feel like they count, that's cool. You can count them as one if you want. This list isn't meant to be a do-or-die concrete rubric sheet, but rather a general concept to help pinpoint things later on in the course. So if you believe in your heart of hearts that Shrek Super Slam is a plat fighter, that's okay. In fact, I support you and wish you well. And a day hasn't gone by that I don't look out the window and wish I could be in the same position you are in. But I'm a professional, gosh darn it. And professionals don't have time to sit around and dilly-dally in the field of flowers. That is Shrek Super Slamming with their willies on the Power Stone. Professionals have standards. Believe it or not, these simple 3 criteria filters down to properly categorizing a game as a platform fighter. It's all it takes. Give or take some examples. And before we call this first lesson a wrap, I want to address one rule that some people might believe is missing. Knockback. Some peeps believe that Platfighters require the use of a knockback system. That thing where hitting Mario sends him into Minecraft or down to hell. But that is actually false. Fake. Not real. While it is a signature of the genre, it's not a necessity to the genre. A Platfighter doesn't require knockback. It can use a traditional health system, or any system measuring combative score. A good example of this would be Duck Game. So that concludes our first lesson for Smash Course, and while you could say it was simple or obvious, I think it's important to state said obviousness so that everyone can be on the same page, even if you are new to the genre. And now that we've created a guideline on what makes a Platfighter, we can now go forward in recognizing and learning about them on an individual basis. In our next video, we'll talk about the one that started it all, the very first platform fighter.